Welcome to the Retro Blood.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retro Blood as we continue this human flesh What's for Dinner month here on the Retro Blood, celebrating the grand old American holiday tradition of Thanksgiving, of getting the family together, having a big feast, talking all the stories of what's going on in life, and of course, taking a bite out of raw human flesh because the Retro Blood's been doing 1980s cannibal movies. Up next, if y'all like more Italian films, apparently Italians love cannibals. That's like a thing, I guess. They love them. If you like not seeing New York, even though I'm not really sure where John Saxon was, he probably was in New York, but they didn't say New York, so I was kind of surprised it was in New York. If y'all like seeing some scenes from Vietnam, and if y'all like getting a cannibal rabies infection and spreading it all around for you to become hungry for the human flesh, and we can't call you zombies. And if y'all like our main man, John Saxon, having two scenes with the shirt off and taking a bite out of some young teenage joy trail, then this is the review for you, because the Retro Blood's doing Cannibal Apocalypse. J.H. Alison, James Kline. What's happening, Alison? How's your rabies cannibal going for you? How's that going for you? How you feeling with that?
Oh, pretty good, man. I actually kind of like this movie.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. That's for sure.
Yeah, it had several different names. So it's known as Cannibal Apocalypse. It's known as Cannibals in the Streets.
Yes, in them streets, brother. The cannibals in them streets.
Like the hardcore cannibals. It's also Apocalypse Domani, which and it is what it was called in Italy, which translates to Apocalypse Tomorrow, and Invasion of the Flesh Hunters.
So these are not as hardcore metal as our names were last week, but you could do some pretty hardcore bands out of these ones.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Invasion of the Flesh Hunters. That sounds like an album.
Yeah, and Cannibal. Apocalypse Tomorrow. That's good.
Yeah, come on now.
I think it's like a sequel to Apocalypse Now. It's not now. It's tomorrow.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
We're just gonna put it off a day.
Yeah, it's not right now. It's gonna be tomorrow.
Yeah,
no problem.
It's tomorrow. Put it off. We don't need Apocalypse Now.
So I would say, compared to the movies we have been watching, this one was probably a little tame.
Yes.
Now, we did have some flesh-eating stuff going on here, but it was definitely tame compared to the last two we've been doing. Very interesting. And I do like, when we get to the history segment, there is something that really cracked me up when I read it about our boy, John Saxon, which we've talked about him many times. He was actually on the very first Retro Blood because he was in those Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Mm-hmm. He was also in a couple other movies we'll be doing here and there. One of them is a fan requested movie as well too, or our boy John Saxon.
Isn't he in another movie that we did? I was trying to think. I knew he was in Nightmare on Elm Street.
I thought it was in Tenebrae too. Yeah.
Yes, he was in Tenebrae as well. Yes,
he was in there. Let me get the list. I put up a little list here of some of the movies that we've done for him on. We have it. Well, there's going to be a lot of movies we're going to be doing that he's going to be in. All right. Yeah. But we did Tenebrae. Okay, we could find the archives. A Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 3.
Yeah.
And I believe that is about it so far. But there's a ton of them that we're going to be doing pretty soon with him. We have Fever Pitch. You know what I mean? Like there's the one I kind of want to see is the one I've been trying to figure out where to place it, but I know we're probably going to be doing it sometime next year, is Beyond Evil.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So he did that the same year he did this movie, Cannibal Apocalypse. He also did the Battle Beyond the Stars and Running Scared too, all in this same year. So he was a little busy out there.
Yeah, he was an actor. Made a lot of movies. Uh-oh.
Hold on a second.
That's it.
Woo! Damn. Get that demon out, brother. All right. But yeah, we'll talk about what's his role in this particular film was. But I actually thought, some of it was entertaining, and there was a lot of stuff that entertained me in this film.
I
ahead.
I actually liked this. I thought it was a well-made movie. The script was decent. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of weird that we thought this movie was tame compared to what we have been seeing.
Oh yeah.
Like, there was no dick cutting off in this movie.
Yeah, there was some titty biting though. We got that.
There
was
some
quick.
titty biting. Yeah.
So we got to keep that part of the cannibal lore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got to have the jungle. You got to have some titty biting, and we didn't get no penis eating, but we got something else that was a little interesting, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
But everybody, like every Thanksgiving feast you all have with your families, or by yourself, or at the Chinese restaurant, wherever you want to go, we give you some appetizers before the main meal here on the Retro Blood. And the appetizers we're going to give you this week is our history segment of what was going on in the world of pro wrestling and the metal music. All right. So, Alison, mine is probably a little bit more exciting because I actually want to get a lot of your feedback on this particular feud that I found.
Okay.
But what do we have going on within the world of the metal music? What is our boy, I call them the Cannibal Clan.
Yeah.
What are they going to go out and feast on, band-wise?
So the night after this movie came out, the mighty Judas Priest was playing on their British Steel tour, and they had made a stop in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Okay. Great cannibal town. Great
cannibal town. Yes. Good. Lots of cannibals come straight out of St. Paul.
A lot of good raw meat there. That's what I heard.
Absolutely. But yeah, they were on their British Steel tour. So Judas Priest at this time, they were a big band. Don't get me wrong, but they hadn't really broke out and become huge like they would in like 82 or 83 when Screaming for Vengeance came out. But they were still playing shows. They were playing at the St. Paul Civic Center.
Okay.
In St. Paul, Minnesota, which is the capital of Minnesota, I believe.
Yes.
And they on that tour, I believe, and I could be wrong, I'm saying this off the top of my head from memory, but I believe this was the tour that Iron Maiden opened for them.
Okay,
so you got Iron Maiden on their first tour opening for Judas Priest. So that would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Which would be kind of repeated years later at the Ozfest when Iron Maiden and Judas Priest played together. That wasn't the tour that I saw, but there was a tour where they were together.
It's pretty wild.
This would be, this set list was like full of like, of course it was full of classics because that's all they had at the time. But like this would have been like a great set list. It opens with Hellbent for Leather, which is now a song they do at the end of the show usually. Well, they've actually moved it back to the front now, but they used to do it at the end of the show. And you go like the first 5 songs are just like would just be like ripping. Like you got Hellbent for Leather, The Ripper, Running Wild, Living After Midnight, and then Sinner all in a row. So that would have been, we would have been like going wild at that point.
This is the fun Judas Priest. Is this his like when he's all wearing like leather?
Yeah. Well, yes.
Okay.
And this is when he still had hair.
Yeah.
So Rob Halford still had hair. But this would have been like a classic Judas Priest tour. And, like I said, it would be kind of cool to see them before they got really, really big. When they were playing like mid-size arenas and, before the special effects and the lighting and before, there were tons of like people trying to get in to see them. It'd been a kind of cool time. But yeah, not a lot of metal this time. I just wanted to talk about Judas Priest and how awesome it would have been to see them in 1980.
Yeah. And you've seen them before, right? A couple of times.
I've seen them several times.
Yeah. I've only seen them one time when I went to the Ozfest in 2004,
Black
I believe.
Sabbath. Yeah,
with the Black Sabbath. They were really good. I mean, I've been needing to try to check them out because I know they come around the Charlotte area here and there, but haven't got to it yet.
I'm hoping they come back. Next year, they're supposed to be doing a tour called Shield of Pain, which I think is going to be, their new album, Invincible Shield, and the 25th anniversary of Painkiller.
Okay, nice.
So that'd be cool to do those two albums together on a tour. So maybe we'll have to do a Retro Blood field trip and go out to see Judas Priest next year.
Sounds good to me.
Especially since I missed them this year when I was sick.
Yeah. Pull out my best leather. See what happens.
You got to get one of those leather hats to wear. Like Rob Halford had. Like those leather caps with the little bill. They look like from Cruising.
Yeah, Cruising. I was about to say. I gotta watch my Cruising over. Listen to our review of it. Maybe I'll even bring out the yellow handkerchief.
That'd be great.
You think? Yeah. Speaking of that review, everybody check it out. That was actually one of our. I really enjoyed that review because there's all the wild shit going on with it.
Yeah.
But just imagine, like, I don't. Do they still even do? I kind of want to ask. Do they still even do that handkerchief anymore? Like, that'd be wild, bro.
I bet they do, but I don't know.
And I'll be like our boy Al Pacino. Oh no, I just like to watch. And the guy got pissed off at him. That was fantastic. That's a great. Everybody check out that review. It's in the archives. Cruising. That's a fun movie. Speaking of fun, check this out. And this, I want to get your opinion on this, Alison.
Okay.
Because this has actually been known as one of the most hottest feuds in pro wrestling history.
Okay.
And it also was one of the first major heel turns in pro wrestling that we kind of monitored, if I said that right, if we kind of copy this format in a way for pro wrestling. And that is the Bruno Sammartino and Larry Zbyszko heel turn.
Okay.
All right? The reason I want to talk about this is because on the actual date that this movie got released in Italian, all right, August 9th, 1980, this is when we had the famous Bruno Sammartino versus Larry Zbyszko in a steel cage match for the WWF. All right? Okay. And I just want to ask you, do you know a lot about this feud?
I mean, not a ton. I mean, I know that it's probably what made Zbyszko famous, or the most famous.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, I know Larry Zbyszko as a commentator on WCW.
Yes.
For a long time, I didn't even know he was a wrestler.
Yeah, he would just go out there. People would say his name. He would do a little bow, and then he would just rip on Scott Hall the whole time.
Right. That's the only thing I knew. I didn't know for the longest time why he did the bow.
Yes. New World Order. Or order, or what is how you say odor? Yeah, the New World Order.
New World Order.
All right, so let me lay some teaching on you.
Teach me.
Before Zbyszko was out there screaming at the NWO in his golf polo shirts, all right, he was actually the student of one Bruno Sammartino. So Sammartino was pretty much retired at this particular time, and he was the kind of like the Zbyszko was like his protege, you know what I mean? So he would help him out with his wrestling, coach his matches and everything. So one of these days, I don't have the exact date on me right now, but one of these times, Larry Zbyszko unexpectedly out of nowhere just turned heel on his mentor. Okay, I believe he hit Bruno with the world famous chair shot. Okay, and he laid Bruno Sammartino out. And this led to Bruno Sammartino actually coming out of retirement and facing Zbyszko in this cage match. All right. So, and this is actually at the time, like, this didn't really happen too much because, in the early 70s or later 70s, even in the early 70s, so later 70s and stuff, the heel would be you would know he's a bad guy almost from the beginning, because a lot of times heels were like You would go out there, and if you didn't know who this performer was, you could tell that he was a heel because he would be doing certain things to be healers to the crowd.
Yeah, he'd heel in the crowd and do heel stuff.
Exactly. So this one was very interesting because Larry Zbyszko was a loved babyface because he was Bruno Sammartino, who was the megastar from, the 60s and the 70s and stuff for the WWF. Even longer than that. Like, wasn't he champion for like 10 years? Like, he has like the longest reigning record of being the world champion because he was like the champion for like 6 years, even though, they obviously didn't have TV like we do nowadays and pay-per-views every month. But he was the longest champion, and he was just a beloved, WWF figure. So automatically, if this is your protege, like, hey, this is my top student and stuff, Larry Zbyszko, and fans are just like, oh yeah, he's just a nice, babyface guy. And then this guy, Larry Zbyszko, turned on Bruno Sammartino. A lot of crowds didn't see that at the time because that's generally shocking to these crowds. You know what I mean? Having like a babyface who was being mentored turn on his teacher. Yeah. So it was a big deal at this time in pro wrestling.
I was going to ask because, and I mean, you kind of answered the question. Was that heel turns like that were pretty uncommon back then?
Yeah.
Not like they are now, where somebody will be a heel for a year or so, and then like they'll just turn face. Well,
even in 1986 or whatever, what I mean. We'll have more heel turns. Like the same thing. We'll have heels turning babyface or babyfaces turning heel. More commonly, after like 85, 86. But at this particular time, early 80s and late 70s, like there was already established heels, already established babyfaces. It's very rare that you would have a hot babyface turn heel on somebody at this particular time. So that's why, it was so shocking. That's why also, too, it did so much great business that it became a blueprint for companies to do this. We see it here and there. We'll see like the teacher or, the student or whatever, or friends, tag teams or friends or whatever, or you can have like you can have the older wrestler training a younger wrestler in their group, and then eventually the younger wrestler will attack the older wrestler and stuff. Like, we've seen that, and that's all kind of really comes from this particular rivalry. All right? And it was also known for a quote from one Vince McMahon that this was the most bitter feud of all time in pro wrestling. So that comes from the Vince McMahon's own words. And just because it was so heated, because they were such a tight unit, Larry Zbyszko and Bruno was, until Larry shocked everybody and hit the chair shot. So that's a little backstory about the particular feud. But on this night where this movie came out, Cannibal in them streets, brother.
Yeah.
All right, we have Larry Zbyszko and Bruno in the cage. All right, and it was I don't remember the actual field, but it's the one where they would put like the ring on like the baseball field. You know what I mean? And they put the cage around it. So they're basically in a baseball stadium while they're doing this match. And Bruno Sammartino does pick up the victory in this particular cage match.
Is this the one where they're in Shea Stadium?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Yeah, that was like the culmination of this feud, I believe.
Yes.
And it made Zbyszko a star, essentially.
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, and I saw a little bit of clips. They have a clip on the WWE website. I'm surprised this one hasn't come to the Vault channel yet, because the Vault channel on YouTube is putting out really cool stuff. But this one has like this little clip of the match, and you can hear Michael Cole doing commentary to it, so it's pretty cool. Maybe I'll put it on the Facebook so everybody can watch it. But yeah, this is actually one of the most historic matches and feuds in pro wrestling, American pro wrestling history. So it's actually it's been studied many times, and it's just, for the time being, it was so new to a lot of fans that it just grew great business. You had a really hot heel, fresh heel, Larry Zbyszko, and you had the ultimate babyface champion for many, many years coming out of retirement and facing him to face like one of his, thought who's going to be somebody that can carry on his legacy. So very cool feud. And Alison, the question I have for you, do you think John Saxon was watching this match?
Oh man, John Saxon was pretty ripped, so I would say probably he was probably really totally into professional wrestling.
You think he was hungry
Oh yeah,
for some fresh, young girl meat out there in the crowd? Possibly.
yeah, yeah. We have to talk about that.
Well, yeah, we'll get there.
That was kind of wild, but yeah.
It's like, and wait till you hear these quotes. I'm gonna tell everybody like this. This movie was had some funny production stuff to it. So, but everybody, yeah, but we cool stuff happening around the 1980 around this time. Like most of the time when we do like 1980 stuff, I'm like, oh god. But then when I found out about this feud, I was like, okay, we actually have something like really cool, like going on in the early 80s over here. So I like it. So, but Alison, let's get into who booked this shit.
Yeah, who booked this shit?
So I'm gonna fuck up the last name. Maybe you can help me.
This is gonna be great.
I'm pretty sure we talked about this dude before, haven't we?
Well, so I don't know. I did want to talk about him because I did not I'd never seen this movie before, but he's made a bunch of good movies though.
Yeah.
Which I'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, go ahead.
His name is Antonio Margarita.
That's pretty close. I would say it's Margariti.
Margarita? I'll go with Margarita.
Yeah. So so the word margarita means daisy essentially in Spanish.
Okay.
But Spanish is a romance language, and I think margarita means daisies, like more than one daisy.
Our boy Antonio. Let's see what we got over here.
Antonio daisies.
Yeah, I felt like okay. Let me check his list over here because I felt like we talked about this dude before, but I could just be going crazy. Okay.
So while you're looking that up, I will say that this guy is the guy that wrote and directed Your Hunter from the Future, which is a fantastic movie.
Oh, okay. When was that released?
1983.
Okay.
And he also made Codename Wild Geese. He made Jungle Raiders. He made Seven Deaths in the Cat's Eye. So this guy's made some really good movies.
I feel like, okay, I think the one I was thinking about was Alien from the Deep. All right, which he did in 1989, but we haven't talked about that. It's called.
I don't think we did that.
Yeah, we didn't do any of that. So yeah, I guess we haven't done any stuff. Maybe just we just got one of them commonly names. But I do like it where he in this film he had like his own like American name.
Yeah. Well, so I brought that up.
Yes, you did. Yes.
A few weeks ago, I brought that up, and I could not remember. I could not give a single example.
Yeah.
But this is an example, of an Italian director using an American-sounding name. What was his American-sounding name?
I love it. I don't know. It's Anthony M. Dawson.
Yeah. What's more American than that?
What's more American than that, brother?
Anthony M. Dawson.
Hey, what's going on? My name is Antonio, a.k.a. Anthony M. Dawson. Yes. America, brother.
Hello, fellow Americans.
I got fucking red, white, blue coming out of my ass. I'm so American.
So good.
So, but yeah, like they're very interesting stuff. But so he directed this one. We have the screenplay was by was it Dardano Sacchetti?
Dardano Sacchetti. We've talked about him a lot.
Yes.
He's wrote most of the Fulci movies.
Yes. Yeah. The Fulci ones, he wrote a lot of those, and he did a lot of the Bava.
Yeah, Bay of Blood. Yeah.
A lot of good shit. I mean, the Cat of Nine Tails, in the 70s. This guy has written a bunch of good shit. He did.
Zombie 2.
We talked about him last week because he did the acclaimed film Amityville 2, The Possession.
He did. Yeah. Yeah, true. He did.
Oh, and he did, of course, I always talk about this guy because it's one of my favorite films that we have in the archives. Demons.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he did Demons. He did The Church, which we talked about.
Yep, he did Demons,
too.
We've
done a lot of Dardano Sacchetti movies.
Oh, yeah. The guy, he's great.
He is great.
Not all his shit hits, but most of it does, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So he's the one that wrote that scene. Okay, interesting. That makes sense. All right. So, some stuff about the actual film. Let's see what we got here. Like I said, it was released August 4th, 1980. We have... This is interesting, too, because I think you were talking about this because me and you are planning a trip to go out to the Atlanta area.
Yes,
all right.
This was filmed in Atlanta.
So, this airs right now in Shoot Life, everybody. We don't do this live, at least not yet.
Not yet.
So we're doing this a little bit before, Retro Blood drops every Sunday. Mm-hmm. Subscribe, everybody. Apple Podcasts and Spotify, YouTube. I'm having a little trouble with YouTube right now, but I'll get the episodes up on there as quickly as I can. But we're actually going to be in the Atlanta, Georgia area for a metal concert. The what do they call them? I Am Morbid.
I Am Morbid.
Yes.
Yeah. We were there last night, and kayfabe.
It was great, brother.
It was
that
great.
Faulty band. Heck yeah.
Oh man.
Fucking wild shit.
So excited! I was so excited about seeing them.
So in Decatur, Georgia, that's where most of this place was on filming location was. Mm-hmm. It did the Savannah College of Arts and Design and the CNN Center. So basically, you can go out to the Savannah College of Art and Design and be like, this is where John Saxon bit that girl on the Joy Trail.
Well, I think that the only scene that I can think of that was filmed, that might have been filmed there, is the scene where the girls are being harassed by the bikers.
Yes.
And then
that makes sense. That abandoned store for some reason that had a mall cop in it, but yet it was abandoned.
That was the Candler Discount Mall. I don't know if that's still there, but the CNN Center is, and it's in the middle of downtown. It was beside the Omni.
Yes.
I believe. But I'm not sure where that was in this movie though. I watched it, but I didn't really pick out the CNN Center. It's just a big tall building, but I didn't actually pick it out, so I don't know. I think there was like a decent shot, but it definitely does look like Atlanta. Everything outside was definitely shot in Atlanta.
Yeah.
In 1980, you can tell.
Cool stuff.
The interiors, of course, were shot in Rome, just like all Italian movies are. So anytime they're inside a building, they're in Rome, but and when they're outside, they're in Atlanta.
So at least we can go where the what's his name, Charlie?
Yeah.
Crazy out of his mind, walking through those biker gang. You can walk where he walked.
We could walk where he walked, and we may. There's some kind of animal in my house.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he just jumped out.
Huh? Are they a mice or something?
I guess it's a mouse. Like I couldn't tell because my lights are really off.
Yeah.
But in the light from the TV, because I've got Raw running in the background with the sound off, and like he just kind of jumped out. And then jumped around for a minute and then ran into my chair, but he's not under the chair now.
Do you think it's one of those cannibal mice?
I hope not.
Okay. Well, we'll see. Well, I guess I'll know in a couple of days.
Guess so. We need to edit this part out. But anyway, here we go. What were we saying?
So apparently, there's some. So apparently, the opening Vietnam War stuff.
Yeah.
Was all like just reused footage from his movie The Last Hunter. I like it.
I thought they just used the props for it.
Yeah, the props, yeah. Yeah, the props and costumes.
Yeah.
So I guess that footage was just like real. I guess it was like real footage from Vietnam, probably then.
Some of it was, like the helicopters landing.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was real footage from Vietnam, yes. And then they, I don't know where they shot the actual Vietnam sequences were, but I don't think it was Georgia or Rome or Vietnam.
Yeah,
so maybe somewhere in Italy they filmed that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Or maybe they actually went out to the jungle.
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean. So this is the funny story.
Yes.
From our boy John Saxon. Okay. And because he explained this on a 2002 interview about the making of this Cannibal Apocalypse, a.k.a. In the Streets movie.
Yeah.
So he said that when he got the role and stuff, he got a badly translated script. How does that work out, Alison? Was there too much Italian in it?
I'm guessing that it was just not translated very well.
So
I don't really know. I think it sounds to me like they just left parts of it out.
Because it's not like John Saxon over here is like Mr. Italian. He's been in a couple of Italian films, but he's an American actor.
For sure. He speaks only American.
Yeah. So I guess maybe some of the actual cannibal scenes and talking about it was probably just written in Italian. That's in my head that I'm showing what's going on. Okay. So he said he explains that he he liked the script because it was talking about the Vietnam War, and he thought the script was about a virus that you could bring home from the Vietnam War, right? And he thought it was a really great like metaphor and a very like psychological condition, you know. So I'm guessing when he read it, he thought this is more like, you know, PSD that you would get from like war and stuff, and how do you deal with it when you get home?
I guess so, but the movie is called Cannibal Apocalypse.
Well, at the time, Alison, it could have been called
Apocalypse Tomorrow.
Invasion of the Flesh Hunters. Okay. Or maybe they, you know, okay, you know how like when like studios do like films and stuff, they have to put like a fake name?
Yeah.
Maybe they just called it like Bombs Away or something. I don't know. Jungle Trap.
I kind of wonder if with the Apocalypse Tomorrow title, if this was kind of intended originally to be a sequel to Apocalypse Now.
What year did that movie Apocalypse Now come out?
It was before this, wasn't it?
Okay.
Wasn't it in the 70s sometime?
Hey, you know, maybe. You know, those the Italians like to make their own sequels.
They do.
We know that.
They do.
So basically he learned what the actual movie was truly about during shooting. Just imagine that shit. This is what he claims. And I got one counter just so I wanna ask.
Okay.
So at one point, this is what he's saying. This is what Saxon was saying in the interview. He said, at one point we were shooting a scene and a guy brings in this tray of meat. And he asked, like, what is this for? And they explained to him, it was supposed to be a body part, even genitalias. Because, you know, the Italians love it when you eat cock and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Apparently so, yeah.
And we a bloody raw cock. All right, not natural ones. Come on, guys. Okay. And he said we were supposed to gnaw on them, like eat them. And he asked the director, Antonio, he's like, hey, take me out of the scene. I want to go to my hotel room. All right. So he's like, he basically refused to do it for that particular scene. And then, like, once he found out what the true nature of this film was, he said he got depressed. Yeah. And he was even thinking about leaving the production altogether, which is hilarious. But I want to ask you, Alison, hold on. Yeah. I want to ask you. So he questioned eating raw meat, but he did not question biting a young teenage girl in the joy trail.
He did not.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I think that makes perfect sense for the time being, though.
But biting young women in the... Are you saying biting young women or eating dicks?
I don't know. I don't think people of his generation had a lot of qualms about hooking up with underage people.
Yeah, that makes sense. Especially those actors.
Yeah, that was weirdly shocking.
I know.
For me in this movie. Like, it's like in this day and age, it's like one of those things you couldn't have in a movie today.
Yeah, it was. It did come out of nowhere. It was pretty interesting. But yeah, like I like that little stuff. Like he's like, you talking about I'm gonna eat this cock that's raw? Oh man, what did I sign up for?
So the thing is, though, he was offended by that, and it makes me wonder if this is what made him decide to do all the other stuff that he did. Because like a year later, he would do Blood Beach. Yeah. And
yep.
So was he just like after? Yeah, we're gonna do that one too. So once he did Cannibal Apocalypse, was just like, fuck it, I'll just do all these movies.
Pretty much, yeah.
It doesn't get worse than this.
It's like it doesn't get. Pretty much, he's like, you know what? I already bit a fucking young girl on the joy trail supposedly, and she liked it. Everything's on the table now. Let's just go out there. As long as I can take my shirt off, we're all good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
It is kind of interesting seeing like his career get all the way up to him just being a cop in Nightmare on Elm Street, because he would actually be pretty well known for that role as well. So
yeah, I mean he was also in Enter the Dragon. He was in Black Christmas.
Yeah.
He was in a lot.
Black Christmas. That's another one we did with him. Yes.
Yeah, we did Black Christmas with him.
That's on the Lights Out. Everybody, check it out. One of my favorite all-time movies.
Battle Beyond the Stars. I think we mentioned that. That's a great movie.
Plays a lot of lieutenants. I guess he does have that face.
He has that cop face. Yeah, or that military face. Yeah.
So let's see. Who else have we got? Some of the cast over here was pretty good too. A lot of Italian actors and actresses. The guy who played Charlie, All right, Giovanni Redis. All right.
Yeah, he was in the other movies we did this month as well.
Yes.
He was in Cannibal Ferox.
Yes, he was in the Ferox, yes.
Yeah, and also City of the Living Dead and House on the Edge of the Park. He's made a lot of horror films around this time.
So really cool when you see them, especially like, we talked about this before. Like when we do Italian films, a lot of times they'll use like the same actors who has been in like a lot of these genre films before. It's always cool seeing them in different ones. But yeah, pretty cool stuff over here. I like it. But what I'm going to like even more is let's get into the main course, everybody, for this countdown to Thanksgiving. Because let's get into Cannibal Apocalypse.
Let's do it.
Or Cannibal Up in These Streets.
Cannibals Up in These Streets.
Vietnam vet, barricaded in the flea market, taking pot shots at the cops outside.
Okay, that's enough.
Wait a minute. Please. Please try to understand.
We got it. There's no exit there.
So we start off with some Vietnam footage there, Alison.
Yeah.
Speaking of Vietnam, Alison, how was it? Did you do okay when you were down in Vietnam?
I did fine, yeah.
Okay.
I made it through just fine.
You didn't get captured and turned into a cannibal?
No.
Oh, so I knew that was a thing. That actually is a kind of a thing. I guess, we did. Well, not that part, but getting captured, I mean.
Oh, well, yeah. That was a big thing, yeah.
I'm seeing it through our boy Saxon's eyes. I've been like, okay, I could see where this story could be very, deep. You know what I mean? We have showing Vietnam War, getting these guys captured, or bringing home some PSD, maybe some diseases, maybe acting up, can't live in a civilized world. All right? And then you just add a little cannibalism. There you go. Got yourself a movie.
Yeah. I mean, it could have still really had those themes, like they could have been like, the theme of PTSD and Vietnam veterans that couldn't, and they had, problems in relationships and being able to live in a civilized world after being in Vietnam for so long. I mean, that still carries through this movie. He was just kind of offended by the fact that they want him to eat like genitals and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a real actor.
He's a real man.
He doesn't do that.
All right. Did you see that he works out too? So.
Yeah, he does.
He has a nice chin.
He's ripped.
Come on.
He's ripped.
So we have two guys that are locked in cage. They're like soldiers that got trapped by the Vietnam's army. Mm-hmm. And we found out that their names is going to be Charlie. He's the white guy. And then Thomas is the black guy. Okay. That's the easiest way to describe him. So we have John Saxon's character in this movie is going to be Norman Hooper. Okay?
Yes.
So when we say Hooper or Norman, that's who we need. It's John Saxon. So Hooper at this time is a general, or I mean not a general. Well, he's a captain, squad captain, I guess. Mm-hmm. They come down, they start shooting up this place and start torturing. We do have one scene where the dog blows up the guy, which I heard that was a real thing they did in Nam too.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought that's a real thing they did in this movie. Surely they did not blow up a real dog in this movie.
No, well, not in this movie, but that's a real thing they probably did in Nam.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes,
yeah.
They used to use they didn't even use kids and stuff with bombs, I heard. Mm-hmm. So I do like they're in the fighting scene where there's one that they throw a grenade at him, and this guy does Vietnamese guy does a front flip in slow motion. Mm-hmm. But no body parts blew off or not. He just does a front flip and he dies.
Yeah, like a lot of the Vietnam era movies that were probably not out yet, but they were about to start. Because in the 80s, you had a huge popularity of Vietnam War movies for some reason.
It's a hot topic, man, at the time. Come on.
Yeah, like Rambo and Missing in Action and all those movies. It was definitely a hot topic for sure.
So after they start lighting up the place and torturing it, and then one of the native females gets caught on fire, and she falls into the cage where the soldier guys are. And of course, the soldier guys, I guess I've been in this cage for so long that they got what is quoted later, the rabies effect, but it makes you a cannibal.
Right. It's a virus, right?
Like the cannibal virus.
Rabies. Yeah.
So of course, the first thing we see is them bite the tit, because that's apparently the most juiciest part.
Apparently.
All right. And then they start chowing down on this. We have some more gunfighting, and eventually Hooper's team wins the gunfight. They defeat the Vietnam soldiers, and then they look into the two of the Hooper's squad finds Charlie and Thomas in the ground there, and Hooper's recognizes them, especially Charlie, because he used to go to the same. I think they live around the same area, and then he looks at them all weird, and then Hooper puts his hand down, and then Thomas goes right for it and bites it, and then it was all just a bad dream, but it was real.
So, or was it? So maybe that happened, maybe it didn't. So this is all a dream.
Well, he's dreaming about it, but it actually did happen.
Right. Well, yes. Something like that did, yes.
So he wakes up from the dream. He's married. Okay, he has a wife. And I like this line. The wife's like, "Oh, can I get your pills again?" He's like, "No, I don't need a nurse." And of course, this is the first scene where we see jacked up 1980s John Saxon walking around, no shirt on.
Yeah.
We're getting that 18 to 34 female demographic, brother.
Yeah. Looks like he could kick anyone's ass.
Yes.
And he probably could. Because he was Bruce Lee's student. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That makes sense. He didn't really do that much karate in this film.
No, there's not a lot of karate in this, but that's what was missing. There should have been cannibal karate.
Alison, I think you found our next film. All we got to do is find some Italian guy, and we got to promise him New York will be in it. In the jungle, we're golden.
Yeah, Dardano Sachetti's still alive. Maybe we can get him to write it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that'd be really fun. I'd put every fucking... If that actually happened, I would put every cliche in the film. Every scene would be a cliche.
We could just contact him and say, "We want to make this movie called Cannibal Karate." Will you write it? He's like, "Oh yeah."
Oh yeah, I'm on it. It's like, hey, and it'd be like, "Hey, I promise New York will be in there too." And he's like, "Oh, I'm down."
I'm down.
Down, brother. So he goes to the refrigerator and he sees some leaking meat, and he gets triggered. Uh-oh.
So how long has it been? I mean, it's been several years, I guess, right? Because Vietnam ended 73, 74, something like that. And now it's, 1980 or whatever. So it's been several years, and he hasn't had any cannibal flare-ups in between those times.
Well, we do see the scar on his arm.
Which is where Tommy bit him.
Yes.
Or Tommy or Charlie. I think it was Tommy, right?
Yeah, Tommy, yeah. But yeah, I mean, so save that question for a little bit, because I do have a question to ask you as well, too, about that.
Very good.
We'll get there. So now Norman's pretty much upset. The wife goes and sees him and stuff, and she could tell that Norman's feeling upset now. Okay? Yeah. So the wife's name is Jane. Mm-hmm. She meets this doctor named Phil. Okay?
Dr. Phil.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry.
It's Phil, he has a Spanish Monzio. Mendez.
Dr.
Right.
Bill Mendez.
Yeah, Phil Mendez, yes. They're talking about Norman's nightmare and stuff. And Phil, this guy is so bold. Okay? He's like, I told you should have married me instead.
That was fantastic.
And I was like, what's going on here? So I put in my notes, I laughed out loud. And then he also said, don't worry about all this stuff in his nightmares. It'll work itself out. What a doctor. So Norman is now flying a toy plane. Okay. And now we see a scene that we're at check this one out, the Hospital for Nervous Disorders.
Yeah, so it's like a mental asylum, essentially.
Yes. And this is where we see Charlie.
Veterans, probably.
Yes. And this is where we see the Charlie. And I guess it looks like he's getting drugs and he leaves. So basically what's going on is this Dr. Phil, not the one from the TV, but the one from this movie.
Yeah.
He has been treating Charlie and Thomas, and he has been slowly getting them not to eat raw meat, basically. I mean, am I right or am I wrong about that?
No, you're right about that. But my question, though, is it they don't do they? Okay, so are they eating raw meat, or do they know that they're eating people?
That wasn't really explained, but I think they know they're eating people, but they can't help it because it's the hunger. It's kind of like it's basically like they're like alive zombies, basically.
Yeah, so I was going to mention that. I did feel like this movie was more of a zombie movie than a cannibal movie.
Yeah.
It's no more of a cannibal movie than the zombie movies that we did are, but
yeah. It's just like a different take on it. It could definitely be like a different take on a zombie film in a way.
Right.
So now so Phil gets there, like Jane drops Phil off at his hospital, and he's saying that, hey, Thomas and Charlie, they've been doing really good treatment. I'm about to pretty much release them because they're cured. They're cured now. I can guarantee they're cured.
Fine. And
he said eventually, Norman, he's going to, kind of get over it and stuff. And then the doctor gets called in. And then we see Norman showing this young kid named Bob the toy plane. And now we're meeting Bob's sister, younger sister. Hopefully she's 18, but we don't really know that for sure. Named Mary.
No, she's his older sister. Bob's a little kid.
Yeah, Bob's the kid, but Mary is the older sister. But how old do you think she was?
Oh, probably 16.
16, yeah. We'll go with 16.
We'll go with 16 because that makes it feel a little bit better, I guess.
Yes.
Maybe she was almost 18.
Well, we'll see. So basically, what happens is they're basically where Norman and his wife Jane live. Right next door is younger Bob, Mary, and their aunt, what they call auntie. Okay, so Bob showing Norman showing Bob the toy plane. The sister comes. She said that you can obviously tell that Mary has a crush on Norman. All right, like a lot of younger women would have, especially around the manly man of John Saxon.
Yeah. So
she asked to go help. He needs this. Jane said that she could borrow the hair dryer. Okay, and Norman's gonna go help her find it. Okay, so they get back into the house, and Mary fakes an injury to her leg.
Yeah. So when I first saw this, I was like, "Oh my God, she's such a terrible actor! Like this is the worst faking of an injury I've ever seen." But then turns out she truly is faking.
I like my notes here. I said, Mary fakes an injury to get Norman to fuck. That's pretty much what's going on.
That's exactly what was going on. So she would touch his thigh. He would touch her thigh.
And then he knows what's going on, so he pushes his hand away. He's like, "I ain't doing all this. I seen those movies." All right, brother.
I ain't going to jail for
You're gonna catch me on the Twitter.
No.
All right, brother.
And then the guy from To Catch a Predator comes in through the door on his side.
What a different movie that would have been. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, that's a different kind of movie altogether.
Damn, he caught me.
But then, and then he says something like, I think this is something your aunt could help you with better.
Yeah.
Or more, or something like that.
So then he gets a phone call, right? From Charlie. Charlie calls him up and stuff, and the girl's trying to fuck with him with the hairdresser the whole time.
Right. So, oh wait, that just made me think of something. So they're in his house?
Yes, they go to his house. Yes.
Okay. For some
Because-
reason, I thought they went to her house,
No.
and then I realized, we got a phone call at her house.
No.
No,
They
okay.
went to his house because remember, the Mary said she's going to borrow Jane's hairdryer.
Oh yeah. Forgot. Okay, yeah, right. You're right.
So they, Charlie brings up that they're old drinking buddies, and then he brings up what happened to the jungle, and then right when he brings up what happened into the jungle and stuff, that's when Norman gets very serious, and he's like, "Okay, I can't hang out with you anymore, Charlie. I just can't do it." So he hangs up, and then he hangs up the phone.
Mm-hmm.
He stares at Mary, lifts her dress up. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in my notes, I put, he goes down south, if you know what I mean.
So, yes, I know what you mean. So, I'm confused about this too. So, I thought this was going to be another dream sequence. But he actually did this.
Did this, yes.
And he bit her.
He
and
bit
now
her.
she's, well, okay, spoiler, we'll find out near the end that she's like a cannibal zombie too.
Yes.
But it's just so weird. Like he just turns it on all of a sudden. Like he decides to become a fucking zombie or a cannibal like at that very second, and he's like normal the rest of the time.
Yeah, like,
Where everybody else seems like they're all like fucked up the whole time.
yeah, that was one of the big things I was going to bring it up to you. And maybe
Okay.
if there's somebody out there who does a Cannibal Apocalypse 10 episode podcast about every detail, maybe they can explain this to me because I didn't really get it.
There's probably somebody out there that this is like their favorite movie.
Yeah. So
And they'll
if you
tell us
wanna,
how
if
we're
you
wrong.
wanna, if you wanna, you know, Retro Blood, Facebook, Instagram, you know, give us some comments, or you could do retroblood69@gmail. I'll read your comments, even if you tell us we suck the whole time. I'll still read them. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But so what we've seen in the film past this is if you get scratched or bitten by one of the cannibal zombies,
Yeah.
you after maybe 30 seconds, maybe an hour, turn into a cannibal loving zombie. But
Okay.
for somehow the John Saxon's character, maybe it was written to his script, that he can control it a lot better than other people.
Maybe it's because he works out a lot.
You know what? That is a great, yes, that is
And
why.
he's totally ripped, and his like ripped testosterone body is allowing him to control the savage cannibalism.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yes, but then he has spurts where he has to gnaw on young girls.
Yes.
All right. So, very interesting. But yeah, like I mean, that's like kind of like the big, I guess, the plot hole was why did Norman, the character, like, why didn't he like come to the urges a lot sooner than he actually did? So why everybody else was tame. The only thing I could think of is maybe he was also doing some of the treatment that Dr. Phil was prescribing. That's the only thing I can kind of think of that you can kind of argue with that. So now Mary comes back, and now the auntie is mad at her, and she wants her to go wash the dishes, and she's basically claiming that she's a slut in a way.
Yeah, like the aunt's kind of screaming at her the entire time.
That's
Like,
that's the whole aunt's character is basically just pissed off.
yeah,
all the
yeah,
time.
just like pissed off all the time about whatever. I mean, we all know people like that, but you know, maybe that's why she wants to hook up with John Saxon so she can get out of that fucking mess.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she was liking him. We'll get there.
Mm.
So now we have Charlie. He's walking around all Atlanta, checking
Yeah.
out the sites. All right.
Looking like a meth head.
Oh man, this guy looked
Or
like
a
he was on.
fentanyl addict.
He was on some fentanyl. That's for sure. He
Yeah.
was just fucked up.
Yeah,
He's
we're
on
gonna
that
see plenty
1980s
of
fentanyl.
people. We're gonna see plenty of people like that in Atlanta. Trust me.
Oh yeah, he fit right in. No problem.
Yeah, yeah.
So he sees a bunch of biker dudes messing with these two girls, and he just
Yeah.
like walks in front of them or something and catches like a baseball for one of them. It was kind of strange, to be honest with you. This whole thing was a little strange. So another strange part is Charlie is now going to go see a movie. Okay. So I did like in my notes here before he goes watches that movie.
Yeah.
So Charlie like the biker guys like go away because the girls are like, you know, they kind of like run away, and then Charlie like overacts turning his head over, like he does like that like slow like Bond turn
Yeah.
to him. I like laughter and that. I loved it. So, Alison, have you ever seen this movie within a movie? As in, the movie is called Hell of a Victory.
It's called isn't it called From Hell to Victory?
Oh, it's called From Hell to Victory? Okay.
I believe that's what it's called.
Okay.
But yes, I have seen that movie. It's a real movie.
Oh, okay.
And it is directed by Umberto Lenzi.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Weird little factoid there. The guy that directed our previous 2 movies this month also directed From Hell to Victory.
There you go.
It's
See,
a
it's
World
all
War II movie with George Papard. It's a good flick. Good Italian war movie.
all these cannibal movies, man. They all link up together.
They do.
So Charlie goes in there, right? And tell me how this works out, Alison. This is another point I was going to bring up, but this was like the second most shocking thing in the film. The first one was definitely a young girl, Mary.
Yeah.
But this is number 2. So Charlie's in there with his popcorn, trying to enjoy his war flick. Okay. Then we have some like dude who I thought was blind at first because he kept like falling over different chairs.
Right.
Wearing a flannel with this hot blonde.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they sit right in front of Charlie, like literally right in front of him. And apparently this flannel dude, his fetish is watching Vietnam war stories and trying to fuck a hot blonde in the theater. Okay. So I get, when you're in the theater, you know what I mean? You might do the popcorn gimmick where you poke the hole, you know what I mean? So they can give you a good old tug on there. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe you're in the back making out and stuff like that. This guy in the fucking, I don't know, maybe the 3rd row or whatever, he just fucking goes for it, brother. Starts kissing up on this girl, taking off her top. We see some Italian titty hanging all out there. He's like sucking on that thing. And then like she's like pushing back with her neck. Apparently nobody cares except for Charlie. He's like the only one like, you all see this here? Like, is this happening? All right.
Is this happening?
And then Charlie, I thought he's gonna join in. He's like, hell yeah, brother. Just got out of the fucking insane asylum. Seeing some sex right in front of my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But since our boy Charlie is a cannibal zombie, he looks for the neck and he takes a bite out of her neck. Just like that. Everybody starts freaking out. What do you think about this scene? I thought it was wacky how we got here, but it was pretty crazy.
I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I really liked this. I thought it was, meant to be shocking, and it was. He's like, this is how we fully know that Charlie is a cannibal and likes to eat people.
So he runs away. The whole apparently the crowd was cool with this flannel guy fucking this blonde, but right when Charlie bit her neck, they all freaked out. So they all start chasing him. Everybody from the movie, and then the biker guys, the biker clan, also chases him down too, and they chase Charlie to a store, a convenience store, that apparently had nobody in there except for some rent-a-cop. All right? Mm-hmm. So Charlie gets the gun ready. He shoots one of the biker guys. All right? The rent-a-cop hears it. He goes there. And then the other biker guy says, hey, he killed Carlos. And then eventually Charlie shoots the mall cop as well. All right? And this is when we get the real police coming over here. And this is when we finally meet our captain, Captain McCoy.
Yes, Captain McCoy.
Who is my second favorite character on this film.
Yeah, where he just kept telling everybody to fuck off.
Yes. He was not my favorite captain. That still goes to Tom Hanks in Night of the Creeps. But this guy was a close number 2.
Yes.
Because he did pretty good. Telling everybody to go fuck themselves. It was great. All right. So they get there. They basically have a standoff right now. All right. And so they have a standoff going on right now. And they want to know the situation. And it's basically this Charlie guy. Then the captain was basically like, what's his name? You know what I mean? I know his name and stuff. His name is Charlie. But what is he? What does he do? All right. And they're saying like he's very like out of the hospital and stuff. So basically, the captain's idea is, okay, we'll try to they try to talk to him for a little bit. Like, they wanted to talk to Charlie and saying who he was, like, I'm captain. And Charlie starts firing a bunch of rounds. Okay? And then the sheriff decides to smoke him out with tear gas. That's what he wants to do. Okay? And then, of course, Charlie starts firing more rounds. They start fighting back. So they kind of go like a little bit of back and forth. Mm-hmm. Then we cut to, and I first almost read this wrong. But then I rewinded for a second and I read it right. I first put, now we go to the Golden Showers recording studios. But it was just the Golden Records show. Okay.
Well, I mean, with these Italian movies, you never know.
You never know, man. Okay? Mm. You know, so you got your news channel. You get pissed on while you're watching your news. I don't know what you're all into. So apparently the Golden Record show is where Jane works at. Okay? And I guess she was doing an interview. And then I guess it's like a talk. It's like a newscast, basically.
Yeah.
I guess the Golden Record. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why do you name your newscast that? I mean, are you talking about just Golden Records? But then they hear about the shooting, and they all want to rush over to the shooting. All right. So now they. So Philip shows down. All right. He's like, hey, you know, that's my patient over there. Charlie is the one doing all this shooting. All right. And Jane calls up Hooper and tells him, like, hey, you know, we had this guy who's the former Vietnam veteran shooting at the mall. And John Saxon's like, okay, I know who this is. And, of course, this is the scene where we get John Saxon shirt off again.
Oh, yeah.
Because he came from the shower. All right.
Looking all ripped.
So, and then he's saying, like, okay, I know who this is. He knows Charlie. And this is when we have Charlie. He drags that mall cop's body. And he starts to eat part of his body. All right. And then, of course, the bikers want to get on him. The cops want to get on him. But then Norman, check this part out. So Norman now rushes to go see Charlie. But before he can get out of his driveway, Mary shows up. And she thanks Norman for yesterday and for biting her like that. Because she never getting bitten like that before. And she liked it.
She did.
Oh, and then the auntie calls out for her.
Yeah.
And Norman looks at her all weird, and he drives off. And then this is when the auntie calls her basically a slut.
Mm-hmm. But she was really into that, though.
She was really into that biting, brother. Maybe she's that could be a fetish, cannibal biting.
Yeah, maybe.
And they all got a bunch of other fetishes out there.
Yeah, we don't kink shame around.
Yeah, we don't do all that, brother. If you want a cannibal bite, go ahead. Start.
Sure. Whatever makes you happy.
So now Charlie, he's crazy now. So he starts singing his crazy song. Okay. And the sheriff guy's like, oh, he's singing in there, huh? I'm going to make him sing through his asshole when we are done with him.
Wow. That's extreme, but okay.
I love it. This guy was great. The sheriff, dude. All right. So now their plan is they're going to shut off the power and throw some tear gas in there. Okay. So Norman comes by. He's like, hey, can I talk? He tells him who he is and everything, former, like, you know, captain, whatever. And he said he know Charlie. He's like, let me talk to him and stuff. All right. And then the captain's like, no, we're just going to tear gas his ass. And then, like, Norman's like, well, that's not going to work on him. He's had hardcore training, so gas won't work on him. All right. So now Norman tries to go talk to Charlie. And Charlie's upset because, like, you know, why didn't you want to hang out with me? Why didn't you want to have drinks with me and stuff? And then eventually they don't think stuff is working because Charlie shoots at him. So they put the tear gas into the strip mall that they're in, the strip store or whatever. And I didn't know this was a thing because, you know, I don't really have like a combat experience. But right. They were basically saying, hey, don't forget, just piss on it and I'll take it away. Is that true?
No, I don't think so. There is,
maybe because they got tear gas before for basic training. Maybe it's still in their system? I have no idea. Like I said, I'm not a vet. We gotta ask like somebody who's actually done that shit before, because it's not me. So I have no idea.
Like I know that it can be used for certain things, like jellyfish bites or stings. It's like, so maybe there is some truth to that, because I know that if you get stung by a jellyfish, well, I don't know this, so I've never tried it, but from what I understand, we'll say it that way. If you get stung by a jellyfish, you can pee on it and the pain will go away. So maybe there is some truth to that.
Yeah, I just never heard that before. So very interesting. But when this is all going down, I like it. I like how Phil shows up. He's like, I cured that man. Yeah, apparently not, asshole.
Apparently not.
Godly. Maybe if you weren't too busy trying to bang Norman's wife, you would get some shit done.
Yeah, and because before he's just like, it'll work itself out. Like, okay,
yeah,
we see how that worked.
So now Charlie is pretty upset at Norman. He's like, why did you not want to see me? Why did you not want to phone me? Are you in cahoots with those shitbags? All right. And then he asks, like, why weren't you there? When we were going through all that shit in the hospital, like, where were you, Norman? And Norman was basically trying to convince Charlie to, like, hey, we gotta go. Like, this is not what we're supposed to be doing here. All right. And he's like, I was there with you at NAM and everything. Like, we cannot do what you're doing here. So now, like, Norman convinces Charlie to put down the gun and for him to go back to the hospital. They eventually get out. They arrest Charlie. They take him away. The wife hugs Norman and stuff. And now Phil basically wants to bring Charlie back to the hospital, while the biker guys want to basically kill Charlie because they killed their friend Carlos. Mm-hmm. And then we also see that Charlie is still a little flesh happy, where he bites one of the cops' fingers. Mm-hmm. All right. So now we're cut back. We have Bob, the young Bob. He's watching the new cast of what's going on. And of course, if you're all doing drinking game, the auntie, she is pissed.
Shocking.
Mary's painting her toenails, and guess what? The auntie is pissed. All right? Shocking. How dare you do that?
She's mad because she's a slut. She's mad about everything.
And then we get another awkward scene. Norman gets home, goes by the wood, and apparently where the wood is at by the side of his house is like a direct window to Mary's room. They both lock eyes. Norman's like, oh shit, if I get out of this girl's gonna fucking come back to me in
try to give
30 years, and I'm gonna get sued off my ass. That's what he was thinking. It's like, I fucked up. So then he looks away.
Right.
So now Charlie gets put into a cell, okay? And one of the nurses is named Helen, okay? And Charlie really wants to talk to her. And eventually Helen comes over to talk to her, and he grabs her. And this is when I guess like somehow Charlie and Thomas had like a connection where their raw cannibal zombie triggers go crazy. Mm-hmm. And they start fighting people. And eventually Charlie takes a bite of Helen's leg. All right. And then they separate the two and put her back in their cells. So we see that Helen and this other doctor, not Philip, some other doctor, they're kissing. They're fornicating. The nurse and the doctor, brother, a tale as old as time.
Yep.
All right. And then Helen, she's falling asleep. The doctor is now calling Philip and saying about, hey, I don't understand. This Thomas and everything, their behavior was great yesterday. What all happened? Seeing that blood, that's what happened. All right. And then I did not expect this, and it didn't really go anywhere, which is really interesting. But Norman tells the wife all about what happened with Mary. Boy, that would not go around pretty good nowadays, huh?
No.
So they argue a bit, and then he thinks he's basically just going crazy. Like, he thinks he's going crazy right now. So now Thomas and Charlie, they're getting, like, strapped up, and Thomas is pissed. Here's another one I was pissed throughout the whole movie, too.
Well, yeah, but he's like a mixed up cannibal, though.
Yeah. He has a reason to. So now the wife gets called by Phil, of course, again, because he's trying to get up in that puss. Phil is. Says Norman is showing signs. Okay, so I guess I don't know if they had like testing on Norman or something, but basically Phil calls up and saying, hey, you know, Charlie and Thomas are showing signs of you know, basically rabies. All right, kind of like this, like they're going mad, and he feels like that Norman is acting like that as well too, and he's trying to put like a reason for it, and you can see so far that the three people who had the, you know, bites and stuff of the cannibal, they're starting to act up a little strangely. So he's seeing a pattern. Basically, he's trying to get like a pattern going, and basically Philip's saying, you cannot be alone with him today. I need you to bring him to the hospital right now. And Norman hears this full phone call. All right, and of course, you know, Norman already knows that Philip wants to get up in his wife's puss. Okay, so Norman's now asking the wife if he thinks he's crazy. All right, and she makes up some stuff like saying he's not crazy, and then he starts touching her, and she's all like, "Why are you touching me?" He said, "It's because I love your skin."
Ew, that's creepy.
That's creepy, brother.
Just gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Then he gets on out of there. He's like, "What's Mary doing?" He doesn't say that, but that's what I thought in my head.
Yeah. So
now they're at the cop station, right? They get a report on the cops. So basically, they get a report about that rent-a-cop that got blown to smithereens, and the coroner's report said there were some signs of cannibalism on him. And the sheriff was like, "What the fuck are you talking about, cannibalism?" All right, he's like, "Give me that Menendez guy's number and that whole staff over there. What the hell they teaching them around there?"
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so now the wife, Jane, talks with Phil, of course, at it looked like a dinner date about the this disease that Phil believes that the crew has. All right, and basically Norman is I guess at his regular doctor. Okay, and Norman says he feels like there's something wrong with himself, but he can't go to Mendez about it because he knows Mendez wants to fuck his wife. All right, so he doesn't want to he doesn't want to go to that doctor. He wants to go to his own doctor because he doesn't trust Philip. So now we have, you know, the cop that got his finger bitten. Yeah, he's a cannibal, a zombie now. Okay, he bit like this girl, I guess a girl that works at the cop station. So then the other cops had to shoot him down. All right, and then now the sheriff's like, you know, what the fuck's going on here now? We got to go quickly and see what's, you know, going on at this institute. So now Norman goes into the hospital where Thomas and Charlie are. He sees both of them tied up. Thomas said, "Hey, Captain, do you remember these chompers?" Because, you know, he bit him. And then, of course, now Hooper has some flashbacks to Nam and flesh eating. Helen wakes up right now. She is now turned into a cannibal zombie. There, Alison.
Mm-hmm.
She, you know what she does? She goes up to her lover, that lover doctor.
Yeah.
And she bites his tongue out.
I know, that was amazing.
Blood out of there.
We didn't get a you know, no one bit off a dick or anything this week, but we did get a tongue being bitten off.
Yeah, we get a tongue, and it did have a lot of blood in it. That part was pretty bloody.
Yeah. And
then she smashed his head. So, very cannibal corpse.
Very. Hammer smashed face.
Exactly. Now we have the sheriff and Phil are in the ambulance together, okay? And they're with that police girl that got, you know, bitten by the cop. And now Phil is telling what he thinks is going on. He's like, you know, everybody who's getting bitten by these cannibal guys, they're turning into like this kind of like a rabies effect. They're kind of like getting a little mad and crazy. They want to eat flesh. All right. And of course, you know, the sheriff is like, I can't believe this. And then of course the girl who was, eaten, they're taken to the hospital. She wakes up really quick and she does scratch Philip behind the neck. And then she dies. So now we have Cannibal Helen. She lets Thomas and Charlie loose. And then Charlie kills one of the nurses. Norman shows up with blood in his mouth because he has now joined the Cannibal clan. And they're about to kill these streets.
I was about to say they're about to head out in the streets.
So they all escape in an ambulance. They kind of blow off the back door. Jane comes back home. She looks for Norman. She gets a phone call. Phil said Norman's out with his war friends. He's not sure if he went willingly or not. He tells her to stay home and to keep her chin up. I don't know why I thought that was so funny. It's like, yes, your husband, your loving husband, might be a war cannibal Nazi. A war cannibal, not Nazi. That's the sequel that we're not going to get.
Yeah.
He's hanging out with his war buddies and he's going out there killing people and eating flesh. But hey, chin up. Okay, don't worry about it. So now they break into like this garage, and Thomas is trying to steal a car. Charlie finds a gun, and then they grab some cash from the dead garage guy that they killed. And then Charlie cuts them all up. They all look at his body parts while he chops them all up. So now the detective's like, damn it, the newspapers are writing about these cannibals? God damn. So he's all freaking out about it. And then he's basically saying, we're going to find these men now, and this time we mean business. All right? Because last time we didn't.
Right. But now we do.
Yes. So I put the cannibal crew gets a car. And then while they're driving this car, the biker crew shows up. And they want Charlie for killing their friend Carlos. So they all start fighting. And all I could think in my head was, this ain't no fucking Warriors. Remember that movie Warriors? That big old fight scene? This wasn't one of it.
Exactly.
But it was still good. It was okay. So, but the funniest part about it, the biker crew, they all get their ass whipped. Okay? They picked the fight and they just fucking lost. All right? And one of the coolest parts, because this is a Italian film, we do have Charlie going for the eye, which I appreciated.
Yes, exactly. That's something we haven't had in a while, Italian eye gouging.
I know. We need more of that. I'm surprised we didn't see it in these other ones, but they're too busy biting off dicks and shit.
Yeah.
So the police comes up. They all run away. Most of the biker guys are dead because they got ripped apart, eaten apart, written apart and stuff. So the Cannibal clan, which consists of Norman, Charlie, Thomas, and Helen. So when I say Cannibal clan, that's what I mean. They're going down underground to the sewer. All right? And then one of my favorite lines from the sheriff is like, they tell him like, hey, they got away, but they went to the sewer. He's like, the sewer? That's where they belong. Ashes to ashes. Shit to shit.
This guy is like the most like he hates everybody.
I love it. He's pissed off the whole time. Great. And it's not like that annoying pissed off. He's like that funny pissed off. So the cannibal, did you hear their plan? I don't know how this makes sense, but I guess what they wanted to do is they wanted to go from the sewers to the airport to get an airplane to go to China.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why exactly, but yeah.
Well, I mean, they said China, but I'm pretty sure like all this happened in Vietnam, right?
Well, yeah, I mean they were in Vietnam together, yeah.
So why didn't they want to go back there?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyway, they want to go to China. Maybe there's better meat in China. I have no idea.
Maybe.
So Helen's not down with all this like stuff. So she wants to leave, but they kind of force her to go. We have the sheriff. He's looking at the sewer plans. Okay. And now we're having all the cops go into the sewer, and then the Cannibal clan like keep shooting them down. So we got 2 officers down. So Philip shows up trying to ask the sheriff, like, he's trying to give him some advice. All right, the sheriff basically tells him, hey, get away. And most of this is your fault because if I killed Charlie in the beginning, none of this shit would be happening. So he tells Philip to go fuck himself.
Right.
All right, which I appreciated.
Exactly.
So the sheriff said I do like this part too. Sheriff also tells Philip, listen, I'm very sensitive on Fridays. You're not sure what I'll do. All right. So now the wife is trying to call, like, to see what's going on, but she can't reach. So she goes next door, right, to Mary, and, like, gets in, calls, eventually gets a hold of Philip, okay, and then now the Jane leaves Mary, and Mary just kind of looks at her all creepy and stuff. And she also looks into the refrigerator, all kind of creepy too, which we'll find out soon. So we have more cops in the sewers looking for the crew. We get the cops going to the set. They're going to the main sewer part, and then the cannibal crew is about to go through this one section to get out of there, but Helen doesn't want to do it because there's too many rats out there. Okay, and Thomas keeps telling her to shut up. He does say, "Shut up, bitch." All right, and we do have some more cat and mouse game of the cops trying to find them. And then eventually, the cops eventually, or the cops eventually shoot Helen, so she's down. And then now the Thomas and Norman are the ones left, and Charlie. And then eventually they kind of get trapped by this little gate. And then Charlie eventually gets shot in the back, and then he eventually gets shot in the stomach, where you can see like his whole stomach coming out.
Yeah.
So now we have just Thomas and Norman left. Thomas is going crazy, so he's trying to light up the place and shoot these cops, but the cops end up torching his ass. All right. So he's gone. He gets all lit up. So now Norman is running away, and then the sheriff's like, "Look at this. There is no exit. We got him." And then we can see Norman. He finds an exit. Immediately. Gets up, gets in the Jeep, and just drives away. And then this is the greatest part. They're like, "Oh, Captain, I'm sorry. This was a construction site. It wasn't on the map." Sheriff's like, "What the fuck?" He gets in the car. "Don't you say a word, motherfucker. I'll eat you. I'll fucking beat you alive. Take me away from here."
Yeah.
This guy was great. So now Jane, she's kind of contemplating. She's in her car. Should I leave? Should I wait? So she decides to wait and goes back into the house, and we can see that the Jeep is at the house. So now wife, very slowly, like I swear this is like 10 minutes of the fucking film, of her slowly going upstairs to figure out what is Norman doing. And what is Norman doing? He is dressed in his old captain gear. All right.
Yes, which I thought was a little odd.
Well, you know, that's what happens when you
wear this all of a sudden.
You know, when you turn into a cannibal, you want to go back to your origins.
I guess so.
All right.
A well-dressed, uniformed cannibal.
So he says, "Hey, stay away." He puts a gun on her and stuff, and she says, like, "You're doing better off than I am." Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they eventually go downstairs to like almost the basement area. Philip arrives, of course he does.
Mm-hmm.
Norman, like, looks like he's about to shoot his wife, but he kind of falls over. All right.
Yeah.
So Phil is in there now. The wife goes towards Philip. All right. And we can see that there's like this like weird look between Norman and Philip, and then the wife's like, "Oh shit." So Philip tries to eat her because remember he turned into a zombie because he got scratched on the neck. But then Norman shoots him. All right. And then their wife falls down. They're both like, Norman and the wife are both looking at each other, Jane. And she says she loves him. She puts the gun to her head. Okay. Because she did get a little bit scratched up from Philip. Okay. I forgot to mention that. He did like get her a little bit. So she knows she's going to be turning into a zombie eater. Cannibal eater.
Yeah.
So they basically ended up shooting each other. Okay.
Yeah. Which is kind of I don't know. I like that ending. It's not quite over yet, but I like that. I like how they're like, yeah, let's just shoot each other, and that'll be the end of it.
So the police arrive. Obviously, they see all the bodies and stuff. Then we cut to Bob and Mary. Bob says, "Hey, you think they're going to be looking for Auntie?" And Mary just kind of looks. They see, and then the cops are carrying out the dead bodies. And then we can see over on past them, we can see Auntie's hand is in the fridge. And the kids look at each other, and then we end the film.
Yeah, so it kind of implies that there could be a sequel that we'll never get.
Yeah, but the killer Mary and Bob couple.
Yeah.
All right.
But they finally killed
brother
that
and
aunt.
sister. They finally killed the aunt.
Fucking bitching.
Yeah. No more bitching for them now. Now
No
they can
more
go on
bitching.
and eat meat.
Exactly.
Yes. So there you go, everybody. Cannibal in these streets, a.k.a. Cannibal Apocalypse, a.k.a. Invasion of the Flesh Hunters. Not a bad one. I enjoyed it. For what
I thought it was good. Yeah, I mean, it seemed very tame compared to the movies we have seen.
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it was enjoyable.
Yeah, it was nice to not see, tribal
Dicks.
guys in the jungle and stuff. Get out of there a little bit, do something a little different. So, But speaking of that, next week, we will definitely be back in the jungle.
Yes.
Because me and Alison are finishing up 1980s Cannibal Month with probably the most controversial cannibal film of all time. I would say of all time.
Maybe. So it's the most known movie.
The known, yes.
Definitely the most known cannibal movie. I don't know if it. I don't know.
Well, we'll
I was gonna
talk
say,
about
I don't
the
know.
story.
I don't know if it's shocking as Cannibal Ferox.
Well, I'm
But
talking about the
some
story
way-
behind it. Obviously it got a lot more
I'm sorry,
buzz.
the story behind it. Yeah,
Yes.
we'll talk about that.
Not the actual
Yeah.
film.
Yeah,
the,
no. The story behind it.
The history
Yes, the most
behind it.
notorious movie.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that would be one, Cannibal Holocaust.
Cannibal Holocaust. Ruggero Deodato.
And yeah, so then after that, we'll give you all the Christmas schedule.
Yeah, we got
For
some
that.
good stuff lined up.
Got some good stuff. Think about our lights out for that one too, because there's a couple cool Christmas movies that are not in the 80s that we haven't done yet. So I might pick one out for the lights out to actually play on Christmas. But we'll talk about it, see if we have enough time. But Alison, what song from Judas Priest will wrap us up with this movie?
Man, let's go with the classic. Let's play Hell Bent for Leather.
Hell Bent for Leather, brother.